Our next honored guest to speak is the organizer of today's event and mother to the person George has dedicated this day after. Please welcome Debbie Blagojevich.
Hi. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for being here, for making this day such a big part of a very special day in Oakville. Unfortunately, somewhere else in Canada, another family may be going through what we did 2 years ago today. When I think back, I don't think of my son being operated on for his organs and tissue. I think of the respect and compassion the surgeons and nurses had for our Michael and our family that day. Also, the recipient families, I can see them praying for our son and our families grieving. What they don't think of at that time is how much our family was praying for them, that the surgery was successful and the recipients live a long, healthy, happy life. What makes us happiest is knowing our son still lives on through his daughter Gabrielle and in many others. I am proud, Today is to promote awareness for organ and tissue donation. What society doesn't realize about signing their donor cards is unless your family and loved ones are aware of their wishes in the event of their death, the ultimate decision is up to the family. We were so blessed to have known Michael's. We are all gathered together today, all wanting to support organ donation, and the fact is, only 1 to 2% of people who die in hospitals can actually become an organ donor. The odds are so much greater that one day you or a loved one may need a transplant before ever becoming a donor. Michael was out partying at the sport bar one night. We have a voicemail message, him calling our home to make his plans with Gabrielle and for her mommy for Father's Day. He was so happy and excited about the next day. He took a terrible fall in his home, and that is what brought us here today. Michael has shared with so many others, we as a society love life, especially new life. Now, when I think of dying and not being able to become an organ donor, at least 6 people die with me, and organ donations affects any age. A newborn can be born with a damaged heart. I met a 12-year-old last year going to Disney World, Gemma. If you are out there, Gemma, I pray you get your heart double lung transplant, or that you received it and are doing wonderfully. I am proud to say that since Michael's death, I have met some very special people of whom are on the transplant waiting list. Some have been listed for up to 3 or more years, practically bedridden and on oxygen 24 hours, 7 days a week. They have been there for me, giving me support for the loss of our son, and here they are dying. I can't thank all of you enough on their behalf for believing in organ donation. I have always spoke openly about Michael's untimely death, but more importantly, I am so proud of him, having saved 3 people's lives and enriching 29 others with the gift of life and tissue. Michael always told us that if anything ever happened to him, what good would his organs be in the ground? He felt so strongly about this. What led us to our discussion about organ donation? First of all, Michael found a story in the Oakville newspaper about 6 years ago. A friend of his that he played hockey with growing up, they had lost touch sadly, but his friend, also named Mike, had gone through voluntary blood testing at the University of Toronto while attending school, and was amazed at being a perfect bone marrow match with a young mother of 3 children in Manitoba. She had terminal cancer, and Mike saved her life. Mike Schrank is here today, and I want to thank you very much for what you did. Not only for saving that woman's life, but sharing it in our newspaper, because it opened the door for our first discussion with our Mike. I am so proud of you, as I know your parents are as well. Secondly, 1 year before Michael passed away, he had fractured his wrist and come to find our family doctor's wife was a living donor to their young son who desperately needed a kidney transplant. Dr. Terrence De Silva is also going to share with us today his family story. Now I have to tell you how I met George Marcello on January 2nd of this year. I was going through websites to do with organ donation. I had an incredible need to find out what was going on in our country to do with this topic. I wanted to get involved and to do my share of helping to get the word out. I still can't believe it when I think of how I met George. I stumbled across his site step by step. The only thing that really caught my eye was the date, June 20th, 2000. A year and a half after we lost our son, I find out that this gentleman started a 769-day walk through Canada to promote organ donor awareness, that being the same day that Michael passed away. I was so shocked, I emailed George and told him all about my son passing, and that he passed the very same day that George began his walk in Toronto, and that Michael gave the gift of life and tissue to 32 people. I had to congratulate him on what he was doing. I was so proud of George, him being a liver recipient himself, showing the world how grateful he is for his donor family, that he's walking across our country encouraging hundreds of thousands of Canadians to sign their donor cards. George was so inspired by my email that he asked if he can come to Oakville to honor our son Michael, and if he could name this 731st day Michael's Day of his 769-day walk. You can all only imagine how I felt to have this opportunity to honor Michael for his incredible gift, and to be able to share it with the town he was raised in. I'd also like to welcome Charles Gibbs of Ward Funeral Home. He is also a guest speaker today. Very unusual, you may think, but Charlie has become a special friend of ours. We've unfortunately had few dealings with the loss of our special family members. My husband lost his entire family, his dad, 2 brothers, and mother in a matter of 8 years, and then our son 3 years later. Charlie asked me if he could thank me after the funeral was over. That because of our generous decision, he may receive the liver transplant he needed to live sooner rather than later. I couldn't believe my ears. He showed me his beeper and was praying every day for his call. We were proud to put in Michael's obituary that we donated his organs to the morgue program. Scott Skinner is here today, and I'd like to thank him and more for all their compassion. If I had any questions, Scott was right there for me. Where are you, Scott? Thank you, Scott. I also met a very special young lady during my many stops organizing our walk. Lisa Jameson works for St. John's Ambulance. You won't believe it when you hear what she had to tell me when I happened in her office one day. God bless you and your family, Lisa. If I go on and on, no one else would have time to talk, but we have a very special presentation we'd like to make. Most importantly, I have to say I am in all of those that dedicate their lives to helping those in critical need. God bless all of you. The very first thing I thought of when George offered us this great opportunity was to thank the paramedics that revived Michael on that tragic night.